What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video here. My name's Joe, and I make videos about K-State and different things going on in the K-State community. Now, if you saw last week's video, we talked about how K-State's slow start to the transfer portal could be a good thing in different ways. Today's video, we're flipping that script. We're jumping on the other side of that, and we're seeing which players I think would be a good fit in Manhattan alongside Jerome, Tang, and the rest of the boys here. Now, you might have seen my old video talking about this where I had a couple of different guys scheduled to come to the Cats in my plans. Unfortunately, it didn't work out. Max Aismus went to Texas, Aaron Estrada went to Alabama, but today's video, we're flipping that script. We've got 3 dudes ready to go, and I'm excited to talk to you about them today. But before we get into things, let me say thank you so much for all the support on the channel. We just passed 15,000 views in like the month that I've been making videos. I had no idea that this was going to take off this much. I am so grateful to all of you and all the K-State passion, man. I know we're a passionate fan base, but being able to feel that love from you guys has been incredible, so thank you all so much. My new goal is to hit 1,000 subscribers before the football season starts up, so if you want to help out with that, go ahead and consider subscribing for more K-State content. No worries if not, but I appreciate it immensely, and it helps me out a ton. Now, the 3 guys I want to look at here, some of them are connected to Kansas State, some of them aren't. Now, let's start off with RayJ Dennis from Toledo. Now, you might have heard this name. Dennis's name keeps popping up in K-State conversations, and while it's not a massive connection, he did appear in an article written by Kellis Robinett, who works for both the KC Star as well as the Wichita Eagle, and spoke about Dennis, saying there's some mutual interest from both Dennis and K-State in this one. I don't have a ton to base it off of. I don't know where his sources are coming from, and I don't know much about Dennis outside of, like what his relationship to K-State could be, but I know this dude is an absolute baller. The guy can play. When I say he averages 19.5 a game, let's just take that into perspective here. Both Marquise Noel and Keontae Johnson averaged in that 17 range. While I'm not saying that Dennis is going to average 19.5 at K-State, that's a great benchmark here already. The guy averages half a triple-double in rebounds and assists a game, 4.3 assists per game, and 5.8 rebounds per game as a 6'2 guard. The dude can absolutely play, and Dennis immediately would be a contributor, a major contributor for Jerome Tang. Now, the reason I like him so much, and I know that this comparison might make you roll your eyes, it might be like, dude, what are you doing? That's all fair. That's all good and fair. I understand that. The comparison for RayJ Dennis, Jalen Wilson from Kansas. And I know that you're probably immediately like, dude, what are you talking about? Why are you comparing him to a KU player? When you watch the game film back, this is a smaller version of Jalen Wilson. And I know that we all kind of have that tendency to say, you know what, he wears red and blue. He's a Kansas Jayhawk. We don't want to hear that comparison. Their games are very similar. Jalen Wilson was a great player at Kansas. And seeing that transition, to see a guy like that come to K-State, that'd be huge. Moving on to the next player here. I have one loose thread that connects him to K-State. Very loose thread here. How about Southern Missouri guard Phillip Russell? Now, I hope you're excited about that name. Phillip Russell is a very similar guard to Tyler Perry, to a Marquise Noel, and I know while you hear, okay, Southern Missouri hasn't really been playing against great competition, Marquise Noel came from University of Arkansas Little Rock. Similar conference size, similar situation. This dude can play. His former coach was an assistant coach of K-State. I believe his last name was Korn. I forget his first name off the top of my head. I think it's Brad or Brett, something along those lines. I should have done more research on that front, and I apologize. Also, disclaimer, I meant Southeast Missouri, not Southern Missouri. That one's on me, so if you clicked off the video, I'll fix it next time. If not, thank you for sticking it out. It's Southeast Missouri. I'm going to fix that now. However, the dude is an absolute star. The 2 crowning jewels for Russell, 18.1 points per game, 5.6 assists per game. The dude is very similar to Marquise Noel in the sense that he's an assist-driven player, but can absolutely go get a bucket. And while I don't know everything about the guy, I don't know how he feels about K-State or who's recruiting him at this point, getting him to Manhattan would be huge. And one thing to note about all these players, while they might not have an immediate connection to K-State, Tyler Perry didn't have us in his final cut-down list, and he committed to the Wildcats. So it's different with every guy. I mean, there's guys that emerge out of nowhere and say, oh my gosh, I love this university, I'm there. And then there's teams that you recruit for a while, you see what happens, they eventually bounce around, then they come to your school. Any of these are possibilities, and I don't want to sign it off. I don't want to sign, seal, deliver the situation, but he would be a massive get and a second player that I'd love to have on the squad. And the third and final player. Now, I'm going to be frank with you. I have no K-State ties. There's no K-State ties here. I have nothing that I can find that relates him to K-State. Jordan Dingle. You've probably heard this name. He's been going through the NBA draft process, and I know that a lot of these guys are going to get their draft cards back and say, you know what, I'm going to the league, whatever. I'm good enough to be in the league, I'm going to the league, or I'm going to the G League. Jordan Dingle doesn't strike me as that player. He's a great player, and the comparison for him is a little bit bigger-bodied Marcus Carr from Texas. I think he's an athletic freak. He's a great player. And in case you want to know the statistics here, the guy led the Ivy League. He played for Pennsylvania. The guy led the Ivy League in scoring for the past 2 seasons. 23 points per game for Jordan Dingle. And his game screams, absolutely screams Desi Sills to me. And while I say Jordan Dingle reminds me of Desi Sills, it is kind of like a version of Desi Sills with a little bit higher production or volume in that sense. Obviously, Desi averaged 12 or 13 at Arkansas. Jordan Dingle add another 10 on top of that. And I'm not going to sit here and say he's going to average 24 a game for K-State, But if you do, you're a National Player of the Year type player. Immediately. You're probably a National Player of the Year as is. The dude is unbelievable with the basketball, and I think he'd be a great get. We'll see what happens. These are the 3 guys that immediately I'm like, you know what? I would love to have these dudes on K-State's roster in the winter. However, there's one more player, and I have to acknowledge it. If I don't acknowledge it, everybody will riot in the comments, and I'll be, just crucified for this one. The one player that everybody's talking about, Grant Nelson from North Dakota State. Here's my thoughts. The guy's a unicorn, 6'10", basically has the dribbling package of a point guard, of a Marquise Noel type guy. Very similar playstyle to Naquan Tomlin. It's not that I don't think Grant Nelson would end up at K-State. I don't see him not going to the NBA. He's going to the NBA this year. He's got too much talent. Like, when your game resembles Kristaps Porzingis, NBA teams will give everything they can to get you on the roster. And in the event that he comes back to college, I don't know. I think there's going to be an absolute bidding war for the guy. And I think a lot of good players will slip through the cracks that K-State should focus on more. Just because I don't see Grant Nelson as a massive fit for K-State doesn't mean it couldn't happen. I still think he's a tremendous player. But let me say thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I appreciate all the support on the channel. If you want more K-State, go ahead and consider subscribing to the channel. I make new videos just about every other day about K-State with some different news or different things to talk about. I am really appreciative of all the support on the channel. Thank you so much for watching today's video. If you have recommendations or players I should look into, drop them in the comment section below. I would love to hear your thoughts and get back to you with a video. Thank you again, and go Cats.